Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And yes, this is one of my daytime shoots. My parents have my child. My husband is off working. So my hair is up, as it is. Okay, let's move on. So our review is part of the Dear America series. I actually enjoy this book series quite a bit, though books jump in and out of print. So I have issues filming them because I try to give you guys stuff that you can actually find and purchase at this time. So, it's been a day. And it's 1 o'clock and I still need to go pick up my kid. Moving on. So this is Dear America, the Diary of Angeline Reddy. Behind the Mask. This is Bodie, California, 1880. So in this story, Angeline, called Angie, her father is a criminal defense attorney in a gold mining town. That is, as you find out throughout her story, is slowly going bankrupt. So at the start of the story, her and her mother are being told that her father was killed. Now she comes to realize neither her mother or her believe this. Now her mother is ill at the beginning of this. She has an abscess in her tooth. She has to get it lanced, and she's kind of weak, and she has to try to avoid getting hooked on laudanum, which is, of course, very common at this time, and opium. That, of course, is the main ingredient. So she does realize, no, her dad is not dead, because they do make death mags, and there's not one that she can recognize. And she later comes back with one of the more wealthier members of the community, who she had learned from her mother that her father has one arm. And part of this story they never told her until she kind of bugged her mother. Her father and her uncle had been out looking for gold not too far outside in this general area, and her father got shot. And it turns out it was this girl's father. And he was trying to scare them off, and there's a little bit more to that story. We'll get there. But he eventually helped get Angeline's uncle to help get her father to the doctors, and his arm was amputated, and yet his mother convinced him to become... Angeline's mother was his nurse, and that's how they met, and she convinced him to become an attorney. So Angeline and I think Ellie is the name of this young girl, who's the daughter of, it turns out to be the guy who shot her father. And they go to the casket maker, or actually it's a coffin maker. It's different. One's square, one's differently shaped. And the body that's in her father's coffin is not her father. And they both recognize this. They know what her dad looks like. This ain't him. But they also find that overhear an argument between a member of Wells Fargo, yes, the bank, and Ellie's dad, where the guy from Wells Fargo, he is actually an investigator. He was sent down there because some suspicious things were going on. And they also know that the gold mine is running out, and that the script, which is what's used to pay the miners, which is guaranteed on, basically it's based not on U.S. currency, but rather on the gold and the money that the owners of the mine have. And Wells Fargo is beginning to realize that they're basically not going to, it's going to be soon where the owners of the gold mine are not going to be able to make good on these promissory notes, basically is what these are. So, and this, of course, alerts Angeline to why one of the restaurants in town is saying they won't be paid by notes, because the restaurant realizes this isn't going to work as currency anymore because the gold mine's running out. And she goes and basically, along with another a Chinese girl. Now remember, this is the 1800s, specifically California. The Chinese are not liked at all. But this girl speaks and writes and reads perfect English. So, which is kind of interesting. She was born in California. Her father was killed in an accident, and her mother died not too long after there. And she was taught, as it comes out when you find out her story, by the showgirls in town. And she was taught English, how to read and write, by these young women, by being taken care of partly by them and partly by the women in Chinatown. And you find this out because one of the showgirls had gotten married, and she's tried to become accepted into the society of the town, and they won't accept her. But eventually her husband kind of made her leave that entire life behind. But and that included the little girl that she fallen in love with. So, in a sense. So you find that that's part of the interconnection of the story. Now, Angie eventually does find her father. He is alive. He is hiding. Chinese girl knows he's alive, as does some of the players that are in town, as well as the guy who works with Wells Fargo. And they were basically being told to look after her and her mother. So her mother gets better, and they go through this mystery of why on earth people would want her father's dead, because there is a group of vigilantes in town they're running people out of town that they don't like, and because justice doesn't move fast enough. And Angie's father is a very good criminal defense attorney. Now, the job of a criminal defense attorney, it doesn't matter if your client is guilty or innocent. The prosecution has to prove it. And Angie's father was good at basically getting people off to an extent. But again, this is the prosecutor's job to build a good case to deal with these guys. So it's not really his fault. So, again, this is a gold mining town in the 1800s. So he's a good attorney. However, these aren't like horrible guys. They're probably just normal thieves most of the time. And this is still cutthroat. This is still the Old West. Again, this takes place in 1880. So the Old West is dying out, but it's still there. And again, this is the middle of bloody nowhere in California. So, and I believe it's Northern California. So eventually it is in fact revealed that, to an extent, at this ball, this mass ball, kind of a few things are going on here. So when Angeline's father lost his arm, what had happened was Ellie had been born. Her and her mother nearly died. Her father had taken their other daughter out, and he wasn't paying attention, and she drowned because she was a small child. And he didn't want Angie's father and her uncle to find out, because he felt really, really guilty because he accidentally got his toddler killed. So he was trying to hide stuff. So that's kind of what was going on in his head. He was actually also part of these vigilantes groups. Now, this is not revealed. Ellie had actually stolen documents that proved who was part of this group and given them to Angie's father. And so he had to go into hiding. And they don't reveal everybody who's part of the group. Basically what happens is there's a big fight at this ball. And the most wealthy person in town, wife, basically talks her husband. It's like, and Angie's father gives the deal. It's like, because this other family, this butcher, and who had been married the showgirl, they had tried to leave town and they had been robbed. And all they cared about was catching these guys who robbed them and getting these people their money back. And it's like, reveal who these people are, and I'm not going to reveal who's in this group as long as you stop. And that was done. It also proved that the sheriff and the deputy in town were crooked. And they basically hated Angie's father because he's smart, he's educated, and he makes him look bad. Because again, you have the defense attorney, the sheriff in town arrests people, and the defense attorney gets them off. Yeah, they don't like him at all. But again, they're crooked and they've been causing problems. So they are actually arrested, and I think they were part of, or at least knew about, the thieves. So that's kind of the end of the tale. What does end up happening is Ellie ends up going to teacher's college, an all-girls teacher college. The school town mistress gets the Chinese girl in the same situation, because otherwise she was going to end up working as a comfort girl for the Chinese, for people in the Chinese, to pay off her parents' supposed debt. So they're both able to send away. Angie eventually becomes a playwright. Her family goes to San Francisco. Her mother eventually dies, working herself to death as a nurse during the earthquake. So, and she eventually marries the guy who works for Wells Fargo. And then Ellie marries a wealthy gentleman, becomes a philanthropist, and her Chinese friend eventually moves to Hawaii and gets married and is a teacher there. And that's kind of how they end the story. The sheriff actually escapes. Sneak out. Now, is this true? I do not believe, but that's kind of the epilogue of what happens. Now, I love this series because it's first person. This is the first one I've really read that's really a mystery. So it is kind of interesting. But it's a good way, particularly for homeschool parents, to learn about areas and personalized stuff in the Old West. Because there also is the historical note in the back. Now, Bodie, of course, did not exist. So this is completely fictional. But it gives more information. But it's a good way to look at and introduce different time periods, and because these girls are about 12 years old, kind of give an idea into what children like this would be experiencing. Now, the Dear America series is all female. There is a My America, which is men, which is boys, which I have not gone into. I will probably cover these periodically as I can find them. So again, these books go in and out of print. So it varies. So it is very, very interesting. I really think these are great. Historical. This is actually longer than I think some of the ones that I actually own. So about 273 pages. And this is all written in diary format. So that's what's kind of interesting about this. So that's really the end of this review. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I'm covering a few mysteries right now. I'm going to get major into mysteries when I cover the Boxcar Children coming early next year or midway next year. I have to go through Catherine Slasky's The Bear, her Polar Bear series. I've covered the Guardians of Gahul. I'm covering the Wolves. That will be finishing up this year. Then I'm covering 3 Animorph books, which is in their graphic novel form, because that's all I can get a hold of. Then I'm doing a whole bunch of in-depth stuff at Anne of Green Gables. Then I'll get to Boxcar Children. So I'll go back to mysteries there. I'll probably cover mysteries again. I enjoy them. So check out the rest of the channel. I cover various different topics and various different book series. So there's a lot available. I have a lot coming. If you have want an idea of what's coming in 2024, since this is being, yes, I'm shooting this in March. You guys will see this later. Besides after the Boxcar Children, I am covering the Wings of Fire series. So far, what's in the planning stages, January, I'm covering, topic-wise, I'm looking into covering some interesting craft stuff. I'm talking about intense stuff like metalworking and glassworking, stuff like that. February is African American History Month. I have a tendency to cover Irish stuff in March. I'm thinking about covering the Titanic books and films in April. So that's kind of, and then I'm going to be covering John Wally whenever that's going to be taking place as well. So there's some ideas, and I believe I'm going to be covering some stuff on Angel Island coming in the summer of 2024. So that's what I'm playing with right now. So like and subscribe and leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.